Hello, everyone. Looks like I'm live and we're ready to start. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, OT cybersecurity world. Welcome to our next session of Nozomi Hour. Hello, everyone. Looks like I'm live and our regular format when we share industry updates. What interesting happened in the industry during the last quarter, and this time we will be covering the period of last 3 months, March, April, and May. And let's get started. Let me introduce myself shortly. For those who don't know me, my name is Anton. I'm industrial cybersecurity specialist and certified engineer at Nozomi Networks, with experience more than 14 years helping industrial companies all over the world to protect their critical industrial automation systems. Big fan of the topic of OT cybersecurity, big fan of community building, information sharing, and happy to host this session, this regular session, on behalf of Nozomi Networks. As usual, we will be sharing discussing, I will share the news on the trend landscape update, vulnerabilities, incidents, something new on about attack techniques. Also we will touch on regulations, standards updates within this period, and we will conclude with technology, trends, some tools, best practices, and we will have some time for Q&A at the end of this session. Starting with threat landscape updates, I put on this slide some summary of vulnerabilities that have been published within these 3 months by CISA. I put the names of the vendors and the number of the advisories, and sorted by the number, but by the criticality, by CVSS severity score. As usual, for this information, I use the great community resource, which is called ICS Advisory Project. You see on the screen again the names of the vendors, and as the last time, as always, I highlighted those vulnerabilities that are present in known exploited vulnerabilities cataloged by CISA, showing that those vulnerabilities are critical, they are exploited in the wild already, and also I put those vulnerabilities that have EPSS, exploit prediction scoring system, score more than 1%. I consider it as enough to consider these vulnerabilities as critical. This score shows that the probability of the vulnerability to be exploited in the near future. So you see them on the screen. You see the names of the products vulnerable, the numbers of those vulnerabilities. And again, this is just a snapshot of OT vulnerabilities. For your vulnerability management process, it's important to understand that there are also IT components in your OT network, like operating system, industrial, like network devices, and so on. So, but they are out of scope of this session, but you have to keep that in mind. Again, but this kind of summary can help you to focus your effort on vulnerabilities that published during this period. And again, for our clients, for users of Nozomi network platforms, those vulnerabilities, descriptions of those vulnerabilities with the non-exploited vulnerability and EPSS scores are delivered via our threat intelligence subscription. So if they use our threat intelligence subscription and they have these products in their network, they will be notified. Moving on to to threats, to incidents, the interesting incidents that happened during this period. I selected four of them that had the physical consequences. First of them happened in Belgium in March. Belgian glass manufacturers Primaglass was hit by cyber attack that halted its production. The company was shut down for about 10 days. About 600 to 700 computers had been completely formatted. So we see just another example of cyber attack that caused the production downtime and outage. The second one interesting happened in Russia in April this year. Hacktivist group Blackjack claimed a cyber attack on Moscollector. This is kind of building facility management company managing cities infrastructure, housing essential utilities like power, communication cables, water, natural gas lines. The group allegedly used specifically developed Foxnet malware and claimed the disruption of 87,000 sensors within OT monitoring network. Some researchers consider this malware as a new, specifically ICS-tailored malware, alongside with Stuxnet, the Industroyer, and Triton, and others. But again, this was the attack just claimed by Hacktivist group. No malware samples were published, and no confirmation from victim in this case, no proof of real damage. But again, we see more and more this kind of attacks by the Hacktivist group working independently or under the nation states cyber armies. So this is a new threat actor that is becoming more and more serious and more seen in the industry. The next incident I wanted to share is it was published in April, but it is actually about the attack in January. Sandworm APT44 group hacked drinking water tower in Texas. It was all over the news. The attack group caused the tower to overflow water over the course of 2 hours, where thousands of gallons of fresh water wasted in the desert landscape. And there are also 3 nearby towns that were also affected. They also disabled the control systems to prevent its exploitation. But all the companies claim that service to customers in each case was never interrupted. We see the attack where there is no physical damage damage to clients, to their service, but we see the waste of product. In that case, it's a fresh water. And the third one I wanted to share, there are scant news on that, but anyway, it was in May. There was a news that ransomware attack attacked SCADA system of some unnamed Spanish bioenergy plant. The group used ransomware to encrypt data, to disrupt vital functions in SCADA systems, and to get persistent control over the system. Just another example showing that ransomware is not only stealing data, but also can disrupt functions, production functions. And this is just incidents during this period that had the physical consequences. There are, of course, lots of other incidents with some other consequences, like that data stealing and so on, which also happens in critical infrastructure. But I wanted to highlight only physical. And again, not much detailed information on this attack, except maybe for Moscollector attack. There are a couple of good reports on that with the details on the system attacked or on the behavior of attackers, but without no real indicators of compromise. Anyway, no actionable TTPs or indicator for compromise of this news, but also good to know as a reminder of what can happen and what actually happened every month regularly in the industry. So it's important to know and keep in mind. Talking about the attack with physical consequences, I also wanted to highlight that within these 3 months, a good piece of good report was published, report by Waterfall Security in ICS Tribe. The report regarding the OT, some analytics, some analysis of OT cyber attacks with physical consequences. Those report based only on public attacks with physical consequences such as production outages, equipment damage, environmental disaster, injuries, casualties, and it covers periods since 2010 till 2023. For example, in the last year, they counted 68 attacks with physical consequences, and they predict that it's going to be about 100 this kind of attack this year. Good report, quite innovative approach to analyze the attack only with physical consequences, with valuable trends, insights, as well as with raw data. If someone wants to dive into details, specific industry, on specific country, specific type of attack, as well as a good list of data sources if someone wants to follow those incidents in the future. Good report might be considered as a good kind of strategic threat intelligence resource. Speaking of strategic threat intelligence, another, in my view, resource was published. The European Union Agency for Cybersecurity, NISA, published update for their foresight cybersecurity threats for 2030 for this decade. And this is the list of high-level threats of 21 of them that might be applicable to any industry, but also to critical infrastructures and industrial companies within critical infrastructure. This time they changed slightly the top 10 of these cyber attacks. They introduced number 4 and 10 on this list of cyber attacks. Some of this attack are general to any industry. Some of them are specific to OT world, like for example, number 3, which is human errors and exploited legacy system within cyber physical ecosystem. But anyway, all of them good to know, good to keep in mind, considering the future threats, as to consider to update your strategy, to talk with your management on what is maybe important, most critical in the future. Good piece of strategic threat intelligence resource. And moving on to something more actionable, to techniques and procedures, an indicator of compromise. During this period, I highlighted 3 good reports from Mendian, CISA, and Cisco Talos. First one is from Mendian regarding the APT44 group about their additional insights on their new operations. The Sandworm APT44, it's infamous, dynamic and operationally mature threat actors that actively engage in full spectrum of espionage, information psychological, information technical influence operations, and it impacts a wide range of critical infrastructure sectors globally for a long time. And they also were responsible for the attack that I mentioned before, attack on the water tower in Texas. Good report with updates and indicators of compromise. The next one is a good update from CISA on new ransomware activities that attacks critical infrastructure, among other industries, namely, just a moment. Namely Akira ransomware and Blackbuster ransomware. Both ransomware groups attacked hundreds of organizations globally, including critical infrastructure companies. And the third one is the Cisco Talos report on Arcane Door campaign. It's a state-sponsored campaign that are increasingly targeting perimeter network devices for multiple vendors in critical infrastructures such as telecommunications providers, energy sector organization. All reports include TDPs, indicator of compromise, they're actionable, you can take them, you can apply them in your OCM and security operation systems and centers. And for clients of Nozomi, now Nozomi products users, they got this information with our threat intelligence subscription. So if there is anything suspicious from these operations in their network, they will be notified. And moving on, talking about techniques, attack techniques updates, MITRE attack framework was updated to version 15. MITRE attack framework is a framework of attacker tactics and techniques. And among other changes and updates, new detailed ICS and enterprise cross-domain campaigns were published. This is basically the detailed description of attack that include the techniques from both matrices for both frameworks, so enterprise and ICS. So now with this campaigns, you don't need to jump from enterprise to ICS to merge them yourself. Now they're all on one page. This time it's 4 campaigns on Triton attack which happened in Saudi Arabia in 2017 about the threat actor C0032, which is responsible for Triton and some other activities. A campaign on Unitronics defacement campaign, which happened last year, and attack and campaign on Ukraine electric power attack in 2022. Good reports, good resources for adversary emulation, for training, for security system assessment for asset owners. And talking about MITRE, as promised in January, they published the new threat model, which is called MITRE Embed. It's a living threat model for embedded devices, for IoT devices, OT devices, which includes device properties, like components of OT devices, the threats applicable to these components. Those threats are based on MITRE attack framework, common weakness enumeration framework, common vulnerability and exposures framework, and they will publish. They are promising to publish mitigations addressing these threats in the summer. Good resource for device vendors to make their hardware and appliances more secure, for researchers, for asset owners in particular, to support the acquisition efforts related to relating device security capabilities, to guide the development and deployment of compensating control around in unmitigated threats. Good detailed threat model of the threats, OT devices, the components such as application, software, system software, hardware, networking component, and so on. And mentioning MITRE, also good report that that fell on my radar. It's the MITRE Ingenuity Center for Threat Informed Defense report, citing ecosystem report. This is basically the analysis of detected MITRE attack techniques over the 2-year period, 2021-2023, in almost 200 countries from various contributors, such as industrial, such as security vendors, such as security service providers. They contributed to MITRE around 1.6 million of attacks sightings, and MITRE made the analysis and provided reports that includes techniques, frequency, top attack techniques with associated malicious software, those techniques distributed by security sensor detecting the this time is Sysmon IDs and Windows event IDs. Attack techniques distributed by industry sectors. Manufacturing this time is on the top of contributors, as well as countries and operating system platforms like Windows, Linux-based macOS system. Mostly the host-based malicious activity, not specific to OT, but knowing that there are lots of common components in OT environments like operating system, like Windows, for example, might be a good resource for OT security people as well to prioritize technique to address in the first place. Like what is the most dangerous or most popular techniques in Windows in manufacturing and so on. Not that unique in terms of again prioritization, top techniques, but interesting that it is a resource which is based on the data collected from many entities from different countries, from different industries, so might be considered as a more unbiased, more objective, just yet another resource to take into account for your security effort prioritization. And that's it for the threat landscape updates. I just want to remind you, if you have any questions, you can easily share it as in the question Q&A section, and I will answer them at the end of the presentation. Moving on. The next section is about regulation updates. I would like to start with the regulation that was updated in my region, in the Middle East. In the Middle East this time, it's just one notable update news. It's the new regulation for managed security operation centers in Saudi Arabia. Published by the National Cybersecurity Authority of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. With the goal of this regulation is to improve the cybersecurity in country, to improve security operations services such as threat monitoring and detection, threat analysis and investigation, threat containment recommendations. There are two documents published. One of them is National Policy for SOCs, which applies to SOC service users, including private sector organizations owning, operating, or hosting critical national infrastructure. And the second one is a regulatory framework for licensing security operations center services, which applies to SOC service providers. For those who work or provide services in Saudi Arabia, it's a must. For others, it's just a good reference on how security operation services might be regulated at the national level. Moving on to some other interesting regulation news, big news of this period, that European Union approved the Cyber Resiliency Act, which is a legal framework that describes the cybersecurity requirements for hardware, software products with digital elements placed on the market of the European Union. The coverage is huge. It covers a wide range of products from consumer electronics to critical infrastructure system. This act applies to manufacturers, developers, distributors that should comply to the act in 36 months. They should have security features in place in their products. They should follow the rules on how software should be developed, tested, audited, and supported, including vulnerability handling process. Huge regulation gives us hope that OT components coming from and to European Union should become more secure in the future. We know that there are lots of industrial automation vendors who manufacture their products in the region, like for example Siemens, ABB, and others. So This gives us hope it will become more secure, even more secure. And also just the comment that NISA recently published their report on mapping CRA requirements to different regulation and standards. One of them is IEC 62443, which is the OT cybersecurity standard. So maybe easy for OT vendors to to map CRA requirements to known 62443 requirements. Speaking of European Union updates, also interesting news that European Union approved and published the network code on cybersecurity for electricity sector. It's the first electricity sector specific European standard for the cybersecurity of cross-border electricity flows in Europe. It includes cybersecurity risk rules on cybersecurity risk assessment, cybersecurity certification of product services, reporting of threats and vulnerabilities, crisis management, recommendation for supply chain security, and it applies to transmission and distribution service operators. This is just high-level regulation. There will be more detailed documents in the future on how to implement this network code. So this is the European-wide sector-specific regulation. Might be a good reference to other countries' power industry organization. In addition, for example, to existing New York City in the United States. And speaking of 62443, there was some interesting updates during this period as well. IEC published the technical specification 6244361, which is security evaluation methodology for the part 2-4, which is requirements for ICS service providers. This is the extension to these requirements for service providers, which gives the repeatable and reproducible evaluation. To achieve repeatable and reproducible evaluation results, again, 2-4 requirements, and for product suppliers, service providers, asset owners, and conformity assessment bodies, it might be a good resource for to support ICS supply chain security. If supply chain security for ICS is in your attention, this might be a good direction to follow, to keep in mind. And another small but interesting update relevant to 62443, the Common Weakness Enumeration Framework version 4-14 was published, and among other updates, now it has the new view. It's which called weaknesses addressed by IEC 62443, and it is just collection of existing weaknesses in the framework, which are mapped to requirements of different parts of 62443. One more application and one more mapping to 62443 standard. And this is it with regulation news, and we're moving to technology, tools, best practices, and updates. I would like to start with Nozomi technology portfolio updates. One of them is that recently we launched our new tool, which is called IQ Assistant, Vantage IQ Assistant, which is part of Vantage IQ, our Vantage Management Console. It's a new generative AI-based tool that helps simplify writing queries. With it, you can just easily navigate through hundreds of potential questions using keywords to find a query to run. Just put like words you want to know, you know about like zones, risks, assets, links, alerts, and it will provide you with the ideas what you can extract from our system, which can be used later for your for example, for third-party integrations, for custom rules creation, for reports, dashboards, and so on. So additional help know what you can get from this. And mentioning dashboards, we also recently launched our new dashboard capabilities on our Vantage Management Console, Cloud Management Console, in addition to dashboards that we already have on Guardian. Now the users can easily create their own dashboards and easily to share it as a JSON file, import, export them. They can take lots of built-in widgets, AI-based widgets, IQ widgets, threat intelligence widgets, and others. And they also can create the widgets based on custom queries, where the custom queries can be taken, for example, from the IQ assistant that I presented before. So all in all, more flexible visibility for technical and executive level users of our platform. Another interesting update on our side is that recently we announced new option, combined threat intelligence from Nozomi Network and our strategic partner Mandiant. Now we are sharing threat intelligence information to each other, and clients of both companies now can get even better detection of threats, OT, IoT, OT, IT, IoT attacks in their system, so even better threat detection. And some news beyond Nozomi portfolio during this period. The Profinet published a new Profinet organization published the new Profinet specifications. The full specification available for members only, but there are news on new addition, for example, new security features to Profinet specifications, like integrity, authenticity, confidentiality to input-output data, to configuration data, the new syslog capabilities, improvements to cryptographic symmetric key management, improvements to resetting device procedure, and it is addition to some security features added earlier, such as DCP protocol read-only mode, SNMP version 1.2 configuration capabilities, community string change, and digital signature for configuration GSD files. This is just updates to specification. Of course, it will take time until this specification will be implemented in real hardware. Then it will take time until the hardware will be deployed in the field. But anyway, good to know that the set of protocols is developing, is getting more secure, and you already can start asking your vendors, and you know that Profinet is vendor neutral protocols. Many vendors such as Siemens, Emerson, Phoenix Contact use it. So already can ask them like when it will be implemented in your software and hardware. And to conclude today's session, I also wanted to highlight that earlier this year we launched our new customer support portal community. This is the place where the users of our products can share their questions not only to our support team but also to other fellow Nozomi users. They can ask, they can answer, they can learn from the responses, so they can get work on that. And this is our second option for technical discussions. The first one is the public LinkedIn community for certified engineers of our products, where our clients, certified clients and product can discuss technical questions. And besides technical community, I wanted to highlight that we'll have the executive level community, which is called Customer Advisory Board, where where security people with more executive roles, security leaders can apply to join. They can share their experience, they can learn something, they can network with people, security leaders from other industries and countries, and can help us to make our products better. So if you have appropriate role, please feel free to join the community and be in touch with like-minded people. And that's it for today's session. I want to highlight that we published all the slide decks and recordings. So we are on a special Nozomi customer resource web page. And this session will be published as well. And we will continue having these sessions to update the industry regularly. Next time, looking forward to seeing you in September. And that's it for today. Thank you for your attention.